Hey everybody, this is Bob with CellTechProductions.com. In this video, we're going to take a look at a typical singer-songwriter track that has an acoustic guitar, vocal, and a little harmonica. And we'll see if we can apply a little EQ and compression to improve this track a bit. So let's get started. What I have pulled up here is an original song, High Flying Bird by Small Town Joe. Now, he's asked me to take a listen to this, offer some constructive criticism. So I'm just going to go through it for Small Town Joe's benefit and just let him know what I would be trying to do with this track, and maybe it'll help others. So I'm just going to be using EQ and compression and see what we can do here. Okay, so let's take a listen. Okay, I'm going to start at the very beginning here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. He's got a lot of area here right at the beginning, that some noise, him shuffling around. You hear his clothes. So listen to this right there. So we want to get rid of that before it goes into the first strum. Okay, so I'm going to trim that back all the way. It looks like that area right there is a good place to start. So I'm going to trim that back a little bit. And let me see, let me zoom in a little bit more. And it looks like this this little spike here is where the volume comes in, full volume. So I'm going to fade all the way to that point right there. Just put a fade in there, and we'll see how that sounds. So now we have no noise leading up to the start of this track. Okay, so what I'm hearing in the guitar is there's quite a bit of boominess in that guitar. It's taken up a lot of that that low energy, and it's really, when you isolate it, it's probably going to sound like a lot of noise. So we're going to take a look at that with an EQ. So let me pull up an EQ here, and I like this Fab Filter EQ because first of all, it's pretty transparent, doesn't color anything. And it also has a feature that we can hit this and solo up the band. So normally what I do is boost, and then I just kind of sweep around and go on the hunt, and I'm listening for that muddiness. Now, just from experience, that's on an acoustic guitar that's going to be somewhere between 100 and 200. So let's take a listen. Yeah, that's it, right in there, around 135 to 140. Now I can hit solo on here and listen to it in the solo mode. That's the part there that I want to kind of notch out a little bit. Now, whenever I'm taking frequencies out, I usually use a more narrow band, or narrow the Q down a little bit. And then if I find some place to boost, I usually boost wider and then cut more narrower. That becomes a little more transparent if you do it that way. So we want this as natural sounding as possible. I did watch his video. And by the way, I'll leave a link in the description so you can check out some of his other stuff as well. It was kind of hard to tell from the video, but it looked like that acoustic guitar mic, it may have been an AKG 1000, or could have been a Rode. The Rode mic that looks like that might be an M3. You know, both of those are pretty decent condenser mics. But if you point it right at the sound hole, and like I said, it was kind of hard to tell from the video, but it almost looked like, and it sounds like, that mic was pointed at the sound hole is where all this buildup is coming from. So let's listen to it now. You also see there's a lot of area here with just that guitar playing below 100 hertz that needs to be rolled off. So I'm going to use a high-pass filter there, and just bring it up here to around 60 or so. So now I'm cutting everything else out below that. This is a real boomy part right here. I can see it in this waveform. So I'm going to let you listen to the difference, especially on this hit. You'll be able to really hear it without the EQ, and then I'll turn the EQ on. Okay, now turn the EQ on. So we have really cleaned up the guitar. We haven't added any, we haven't boosted anything. We just cut out everything around 60 hertz and below, and then notched out this 135 area right here. May widen that out just a tad, and check that out again. Let me boost that up. Yeah, around 135 sounds good. And I'm getting pretty aggressive with that, about 4 dB in that area I'm cutting out. Let's continue. The harmonica sounds a little bright to me. I'd probably try to tame that down a little bit. Obviously, if I had the mix, I would try to do that on that one track instead of on this entire mix, because here's what happens. I'm guessing that's going to be around 1,500 or between 1K and 1,500, something like that. But the guitar lives in that area. By scooping this out down here, it was no big deal. It was all boominess that was living in that area. If I start scooping out here around 1,000 or 1,500 to kind of tame that harmonica down a little bit, it's also going to affect the guitar tracks, right? Because I have a stereo mix here. So, but that's something I would do in the mixing stage, not now. But anyway, let's listen for that harmonica here. I'm going to solo this up and see what we have. Well, it just happens to be that 1,000 would tame that harmonica down a little bit. But good news is it's also, that guitar is really ringy sounding around 1K. So if I pull that out, it probably wouldn't hurt anything. I mean, you don't want to start scooping out stuff that really sounds good, but that's not the case here. So listen to that guitar, how ringy it sounds right here at 1K. So that's what we want to get rid of, 973. So I'm just going to pull that out. Let's check that out now. So let's listen to that without the EQ. And with it. So just a couple of moves there, we really brightened up that whole mix by just doing some cuts. Okay, all right, we're kind of done with the EQ for now, and let's go to a compressor. And again, I'm going to use something that is really transparent, so I don't want to color this in any way. So I'm going to use the Renaissance compressor. Now what I'm going to do here is just, let me get right in here. So you can see it's pretty dynamic here. So I'm trying to find pretty much the louder part, the more aggressive part, if there is one. Use the compressor to tame that down a little bit. So I'm going to set the ratio about 3:1, and then I'm going to pull the threshold down until I get a couple of dB of gain reduction, and then I'll make up the gain. So that'll bring up the quieter parts and bring down the louder parts. So we're reducing the dynamic range a little bit. You don't want to do it much on an acoustic guitar track, but we want to do it a little bit on this track just to even it out a little bit. So here we go.
Hanging in a little town, no one else around, it's kind of lonely.
So I'm getting 2 to 3 dB of gain reduction.
Hanging in a little town.
Hey, this will give you an idea of how much energy this track was taken up. Now, if I bypass this EQ, you'll see how hard the compressor has to work. It'll probably go over. I have it under 3 dB now, and it'll probably go over. Check this out.
Hanging in a little town, no one else around, it's kind of...
Yeah, so you see that bumping over 3 dB, and if I turn the EQ on, because it's taken out all this low end, you're not wasting all this energy with noise and putting it into the compressor. So check it out.
Hanging in a little town, no one else around, it's kind of lonely.
That's why in this case I would definitely use the EQ before the compressor.
Hanging in a little town, no one else around, it's kind of lonely. Doing all the things that all the squares want you to do, so destroying.
The other thing I would do is just do a very little bit of compression on the mix bus, which I know we've essentially have already done because, you know, my track up here, my audio track is my mix bus, but this is just showing you generally what I would do for the mix bus. I like this SSL compressor. This is a bus compressor. Now, what I'm going to do with this bus compressor is just slow attack, fast release, and I'm going to shoot for about 2 to 3 dB of gain reduction, and then I've made that up by 3 dB here. It's going to be very subtle.
Hanging in a little town, no one else.
So I'm just getting the needle to bump a little bit here.
Hanging in a little town, no one else around, it's kind of lonely.
Now I'm going to bypass everything, and we'll listen to that same area.
Hanging in a little town, no one else around, it's kind of...
Plugins back on.
Hanging in a little town, no one else around, it's kind of lonely.
Let's go to the end. Play this last section here.
Just get away. Just get away.
All right, nice job with that original song. On this end right here, yeah, you just kind of quit playing right there. I mean, not quit playing, but you kind of muted the strings. So I really would want you to just be patient and hold it and let those strings ring out. And then when you edit this mix, you know, pull all this where you're walking away here. Right? So pull all that out. And unfortunately, you just kind of muted the strings right there. So let me zoom in here. We'll see if we can fix a little bit of this. Right there is where you muted the strings. So we'll do that, and then we'll just try to put a longer fade to make this natural. I would like for this to fade out naturally. Just hold that and let it fade out here a good bit, and then we have some flexibility to put a fade in there or fade it out. So let's see how that sounds. That's a lot better, but I would like for it to ring out just another couple of seconds is all. But that's about the best we can do with that. So there you go, Small Town Joe. I hope that helps you out. Good job on your songwriting. And everybody else, please comment and subscribe. And let me know if you have any questions. And I'll see you all next time.